You weren't born thinking small. No one is born believing they're not enough, that they're bound to fail, that they need to hide. That was taught. It was absorbed silently over the years, through words spoken by people who probably had no idea what they were doing. You're not cut out for this. Stop dreaming. That's just the way you are. The mind, during those formative years, doesn't question. It accepts. And what should have been just a phrase becomes identity, becomes belief, becomes a limit. And the cruelest part? Over time, you start calling that prison me, but it's not you. It's a version of you that was programmed to stay quiet, to stay small, to survive. But there comes a moment when the pain of staying small becomes greater than the fear of change. And that's when the rebellion begins. Not a rebellion against the world, but against the mental system that's kept you obedient to a story that no longer serves you. Your mind isn't your enemy, but it does need to be challenged. Because if you never question what you think, you'll stay a slave to what others told you to believe. And the first rebellion of a man begins the moment he dares to think differently from everything he was taught to be. You think you're sabotaging yourself because you're weak, because you lack discipline, lack focus. But what's really missing is the understanding that this isn't weakness. It's loyalty, unconscious loyalty to an identity built through trauma, pain, and repetition. The human mind learns to survive, and when it finds a way to cope with pain, even if it's self-destructive, it repeats that pattern as if it were safety. So you end up avoiding opportunities, wrecking relationships, delaying projects. Not because you want to fail, but because somewhere deep inside, there's a part of you that believes you don't deserve more than this. It's like a prisoner who, once freed, misses the bars. Because inside that cell, at least, he knew who he was. Self-sabotage is your mind's attempt to keep you in the familiar, to protect the identity that got you this far. But survival comes at a cost, and eventually, that cost is your own evolution. The turning point comes when you realize you don't have to stay loyal to the pain that shaped you, that you can let go of the old script and write a new one, with full awareness. That's when the true mental rebellion begins, when you stop repeating and start choosing. You believe you think for yourself, that your decisions are your own, that your view of the world is shaped by your experiences. But stop for a moment and ask yourself, how many of your ideas, reactions, and limits are truly yours? Most of your mind was shaped by external voices, parents, teachers, friends, media, trauma. You absorbed thoughts you never questioned, and now, you defend beliefs you don't even know the origin of. That's a scary truth. Because what you call an opinion is often just programming. The comfort zone you live in today, this idea of, that's just who I am, was built from mental blocks that didn't come from you. They were inherited, repeated, normalized. Your mind was domesticated, trained to obey, to fit in, to avoid risk. And until you challenge that, you'll keep acting as if you're free, while living inside a mental prison. True rebellion begins the moment you look inward and ask, is this really me? Or is this who I was taught to be? Because until you break those inherited thoughts, you'll never own your life. You'll just be another repeater of old codes, living a life you didn't choose or just accepted. Your mind isn't interested in your growth, it's interested in your survival. And to the mind, growth is dangerous, because growth means change. And to the mind, change feels like death. The mind is a machine of repetition. It prefers familiar, suffering over the unknown that might heal you. That's why every time you try something new, a habit, a decision, a break from the old, it reacts as if it's under attack, and it starts sabotaging you in subtle ways. Thoughts like, this isn't for you, you're going too fast. Don't get your hopes up. It sounds like caution, but it's fear. Fear that you'll break the cycle. Fear that you'll let go of the character it taught you to play. Because if you change, it loses control. And control is what keeps the old identity alive. That's why your mind will try to convince you to settle for less. It'll push you back into a mediocre routine, emotional addictions, and polished excuses. Because there, it feels safe. There, it knows exactly who you are. But there comes a moment when repeating hurts more than changing. And that's when the real battle begins. When you choose to grow, even as your mind screams at you to stop. He fought for years to succeed, tried everything, read books, took courses, started businesses, began again 1,000 times. And one day, things started to work. Opportunities showed up. Money came in. Recognition followed. Everything began to flow. But then something strange happened. He started tearing it all down. Missed deadlines. Sabotaged relationships, distanced himself from the people who had helped him. He started acting like he wanted to fail, and in a way, he did, because success exposed something he had never faced, the fear of becoming someone new, The old identity, the struggler, the fighter, the one who always almost made it. That version was familiar. He knew how to be that guy. But the man who wins? He didn't know who that was, and his mind panicked. It pulled him back to the old pattern, because that's where he knew how to exist. It was only when he realized the sabotage was coming from within that true change began. It wasn't the world holding him back. It was the mental programming that told him he didn't deserve it, that he couldn't handle it, that it was too much for him. And when he chose to reprogram that voice, through confrontation, through pain, through conscious work, the rebellion became liberation. And for the first time, he felt ready to sustain what he had only ever known how to dream about. Every day, your mind feeds you a lie, a subtle, limiting belief, repeated so often it feels like truth. You're not good enough. This won't work. It's too late. And without realizing it, you obey. You change your posture, your decisions, your pace, all because of a thought. But there is a way out. A simple, direct, revolutionary practice. Pick one of those beliefs each day. Just one. Write it down, face it, question it. Who taught you this? Where did this idea come from? And most important, does it still serve the person you want to become? Then, replace it. Write a new sentence. One that challenges the old belief, even if it still feels unfamiliar. This isn't positive thinking, it's conscious rebellion. It's you taking back the territory of your own mind. And if you do this for 30 days, one belief per day, you'll start to notice something extraordinary. The voices inside start to shift. Your body responds differently. Your choices become bolder, because you're no longer being driven by inherited beliefs, but by chosen convictions. Freeing the mind isn't a one-time event. It's a habit, a daily act of defiance. And when you do it consistently, you don't just think differently, you live differently.